Welcome to my DIY tomato corner. So in this corner I have two different types of DIY containers. The first container is a deep container made from old cement sacks that is more than 60 centimeters. And the second type of container I have are these ones that make up to 30 centimeters for root space. Tomato roots can grow up to 3 feet deep. So you can even use a deeper container than this. But if you use a deeper container, there is danger of water not getting to the lower parts, to the lower roots, and your tomato plant can rot. So to ensure that all my tomato plants are getting the water they need, I added containers that are perforated in all these deep sacks, and this ensures that water gets to the deepest part of my container down there. Water in these other containers will seep easily, it will get down easily. So in these other containers that are a little bit shallow, I do not have any perforated bottles. The water is seeping in slowly. So this way I ensure even if I have a deeper container, the water can get to the roots that grow. Flowering of tomato plants happens when the tomatoes get their optimum conditions. Here you can see that my tomato plants are growing lots of flowers, and some of my tomatoes are already developing. So make sure you add compost and mature manure to all your containers as you are growing your tomato plants. Another important factor, apart from ensuring that the soil remains moist and controlling your watering, select a spot that gets good sun and partial shade if you live in a hot region. How to differentiate determinate tomato plants and indeterminate tomato plants. Here I have an indeterminate tomato plant that is shooting up and setting fruit as it continues growing. See here. So if it was a determinate tomato plant, once it sets fruit, it will concentrate its energy on setting the fruits and it will not continue shooting that high. But for the indeterminate tomato plants, it will set fruits and continue shooting up high and setting more fruits. Pruning tomato plants. Is it important to prune tomato plants? So this is the first set of fruits, the second set of fruits, and on top here we see another set growing on this my indeterminate tomato plant. So right in between here you see that there is a sucker. They are called suckers because now they draw energy from the main stem. This is the main stem of the tomato plant. Here, this is the main stem of the tomato plant. So at these growth points, we have the suckers and they suck the energy or they draw strength from the main stem. So pruning tomato plants is important so that the plant can concentrate on shooting up the main stem so that it can continue setting fruits. Because you see, it is setting the fruits here from the main stem as it grows. And on this other plant, this is the main stem setting fruit here, main stem here. But do note here, this is a sucker This is a fruit set on the main stem, but this is the top of the plant. So you may easily confuse and say this is another sucker and you cut it off. If you cut it off, you have cut the main part that is supposed to shoot up and continue giving you fruits. Check out this. Here I have a very big tomato sucker growing from this point. This is the main stem with the tomato fruit set, but this is a sucker that is so big compared to the other small suckers I was showing you. So tomato suckers are not all useless, because you can use them to get more tomato plants. This one is a smaller sucker. See? So here I've created a system to grow more tomatoes from the tomato suckers. Look at where the water is reaching. And I've used this net to ensure that my tomato sucker does not dip in, because you realize that some of the suckers are so small, like this one here, that if you try to stand them in water without any support, it is difficult compared to the other big sucker. Pruning tomatoes is best done from this point at this intersection of the main stem and the branch, and that is done so that you can completely stop any further growth from that point. You see, there is growth here. This one has not yet grown, but when you are pruning tomatoes, make sure you remove it completely, like this. Hold it firmly, pinch it, like that. So this is a tomato sucker that will develop roots, and you see that it was taking up energy. So here you come and I fit it inside like that. So I want this sucker to concentrate on growing some roots, then I can transplant it. But you see here there is a fruit set, so you have to remove it so that the plant does not concentrate on that. Here we have a smaller sucker. Look at that. So with my system, I can manage to stand it in water. Ensure the position where you've placed your container with the water to root the suckers has some partial shade so that the suckers do not dry out. Let me see whether the plant is, see? The bottom of the sucker is dipped into water without submerging the leaves.